And is there any way for any of the listeners to get involved with what you're doing? Is there any kind of I don't know, a website? I don't know, or any kind of way to see what you're planning and get involved? I know obviously there's risks involved with that, but
here's what's going to happen. I mean, for now, if they would just go to my website. I mean, if you put my name in there, you go to my website, my Facebook page. I don't have a website address yet, and I'm working with other people. This is not me alone. We will have something up within the next, I'd say, 2 weeks. And by that point, I guarantee if you're looking to hear about a flotilla, you're going to hear about it, because this plan has already got some amazing people involved. There are layers in the strategy of this that I haven't even discussed yet for important reasons. But, it's going to get out. It's going to be out there within the next 2 or 3 weeks. It'll be out there. And I really look forward to people taking a look at the plan and deciding for themselves. Is this an intelligent plan? Is this something I want to support, whether I'm a participant, whether I come up with money, whether I serve as support volunteer staff, whether I have internet skills that I can contribute, marketing skills, any of the things that might be useful in a large endeavor like this. What do you have to offer? Bring it. There is no reason why we can't do this. And, if you think about it, can you imagine, I mean, if what I'm talking about, and can we even argue, is what I'm talking about possible? Of course it is. It is completely possible. And if we do that, can you imagine, literally, I mean, we've talked about 60 ships. Let us talk about, seriously, maybe 60, maybe 100 ships, a ship with 1,000 passengers from every single nation on the planet, one representative from at least every single nation on the planet, the true international community who does not want war, who believes in human rights. Aboriginal peoples, First Nations peoples, colonized peoples, also from all around the planet, those who know the injustice that the Palestinians are dealing with every day on a ship, on that 1,000-passenger ship. Many, many, many layers of strategy built into this plan will make it so formidable, I don't even believe Israel can do anything. I believe we can do something that Israel is absolutely powerless to do anything against. They will literally slit their own throat if they touch us, if we do our job correctly. This is exactly where I'm coming from. This is why I smile, thinking at the irony of people not realizing what we can do. We can do whatever we set our minds to. We can end the occupation. We can end the blockade. We can solve our problems. It is truly up to us.
I think it's clearly the Gaza Armada, as it should be. Yeah. And I remember you mentioning earlier on that if it doesn't happen by October, the weather in that region will more or less prohibit it being done then. So realistically, that's still next summer. Then that's
it's really important. I mean, in a flotilla. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if I'm interrupting you. I can't hear you, and I thought you had stopped.
Go ahead, Kenneth. It's me. Actually, this one might be a good time. I know we've got a song lined up, so we'll go to a song, and then I'll tell myself again to keep. I
think you made the point. As you said, the discussion we had. But I mean, why wouldn't we go in January or February or March? It is the weather. I mean, smaller vessels. I mean, if they go, this is it. They really should go in September if they're going to go, because especially if they're smaller vessels. In October, it becomes less predictable, and it can get pretty rough out. I'm a captain as well, so I mean, I've spent a lot of time at sea. I know a lot of the organizers and whatnot don't have, don't really have the background to fully grasp what's involved in traveling the open sea, and that's a mistake, because you don't mess around with Mother Nature. You don't mess around with the sea, the ocean. The nearest I've ever been to death, in truth, has been in the sea on more than one occasion, very close, and it taught me a lot of respect. And, you don't want to take small boats with people who have little to no experience at sea across the eastern Mediterranean in October or November. You really don't, especially not when you have all these people coming together. You've got logistical matters. You can't set a date because, the weather can be bad. Then if you get people all to come and the weather's bad, then they have to wait. You really need to do it at the time of year where it's most viable, and that is the summer. September is doable. It's okay. We're still generally in summer, but it's starting to make the transition towards winter. And can you imagine if we had a flotilla and several of the boats, or even one of the boats, starts to capsize, and guess what? Who's going to rescue it? Israel? Can you imagine? I mean, we do not want this to happen. All right. So, this is just one more scenario where we can really shoot ourselves in the foot here if we want to. And believe you me, I've been through it before with human shields. Of course, there are going to be plenty of infiltrators, plenty of people who are going to try and manipulate it into ways in which we can shoot ourselves in the foot. So, if it's going to be done in September, do it, but do it intelligently. And really, it's not as important for us to rush, and I don't say that lightly. People are suffering horribly in Gaza and Palestine and other parts of the world, but definitely in Gaza. I would not suggest that we put things off for any reason other than it is in the best interest, in my opinion, to make sure that we do it right. Not that we do it fast. Doing it fast is not what's most important. Doing it right is what's most important.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see possibly if this goes in the best way it could possibly go next June, and we get a proper flotilla in there, well organised, do everything as Ken says right, then what a disaster it would be if the only lives that were lost were through the weather sinking a few of the small ships. It would be a nightmare however you look at it. So I can see the logic. Equally so, I can see that Gaza need us to do as much as we can now, because I find it hard to believe that the Western world sitting on the sofa quite happy to see a country-sized concentration camp. It just beggars all belief. What Western people wouldn't put up with for half a day, the Gazans suffer month in and month out. On that happy note, people, I think we're about to go for a song.
Yes, we'll be right back.
Hi and welcome back to Northeast Truth. We're talking tonight with Kenneth O Keefe. I'm Simon John Wood.
I'm Dean Rose.
We've got a question for you, Ken. What if Israel mean to be hated and attacked, therefore are looking to cause a major global outcry by killing even more flotilla activists? That's from one of our members, Mike Cooper.
Can you just repeat the end part of that again? Sorry.
What if the Israelis are essentially trying to provoke a major incident? I mean, if we assume that Israel was set up as an agent provocateur in the Middle East in the first place, could it be that they're trying to provoke a major incident?
Sure.
Because I find it hard to be... It's difficult to see what they're doing in Gaza and then think, do they really care, ultimately? I mean, I totally agree with your point earlier on, before we went to the song, that if this is done correctly, we can force them to either let the flotilla through and let aid get through, or compel them to show themselves up for exactly what they are. I mean, if they were to, for instance, en masse fire missiles at the flotilla, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, and that speaks volumes for how far things have come, I think, in that it could even be that they're trying to provoke a major incident. But
well, listen. Let me just respond first off to that the person's question. Israel's function is to maintain perpetual conflict. That's its true function.
Yeah.
And so it is an agent provocateur by its nature. So there's no disagreement there. I also believe, and I think we're wise to heed the possibility. I actually believe, and have believed for some time, that part of the plan in the New World Order is, in fact, to have a regional nuclear war, even perhaps a smaller scale, if there is such a thing, nuclear war that intends to reduce the population by significant levels. Now, a lot of people in the mainstream would say, well, you're absolutely nuts. Well, no, actually, I'm not nuts. Those that have this kind of power, those that are really completely insane, drunk on their power, who control the banking institutions, who effectively control the governments, and so on and so forth, they are that mad. Clearly, they're that mad. There are a lot of underground bunkers that have been built in several parts of the world that can house large numbers of people, but I'm sure that none of us on this phone conversation are getting invitations to these bunkers. We're not part of the invitation list, and yet those that have built these bunkers, I'm sure, are not going to ride out any nuclear war sitting on the terrestrial side of things. They're going to be subterranean, and you know, a lot of people again in the mainstream would say, well, you're absolutely nuts. Surely they're not going to do that. I say it's the reverse. We're nuts not to acknowledge that as a distinct possibility. Yeah. In this case, you know, I do believe, as I've said earlier, that actually the attack on Iran by Israel or the United States was supposed to happen already. Yeah. That it was in the plans, and that, you know, it was going to be just another incident, a manipulation, some event that was going to catalyze it. And I believe they've held off, the powers that be, in carrying forward this plan because they don't feel certain things are in place right now. And they're a bit concerned because if the powers that be make the move to really kick off the Third World War and potentially launch nukes, if it's possible that people figure out what's happening, that it is in fact a false flag operation, number one, and get a clue as to who's directly responsible for it, we go beyond, you know, the so-called leaders, the presidents and prime ministers, the puppets, and we start to see beyond that who's really responsible. If that were to happen, not only are they not going to achieve their New World Order agenda, their day is up. It's over. Done. And I think they, you know, as drunk on their own power as they are, they're not completely stupid. The powers that be realize that if they make a move, and enough of us get it, that's it. Over. So, yeah. You know, I think, you know, these are all things that you have to be, you know, at least aware of as possibilities. You know, people can disagree with what I'm saying completely if they like, or, you know, think maybe it's possible, whatever. At the very least, these are possibilities. And I think they're very, very realistic possibilities. So, going back to the question, we could, I think the whole point of the question was, we could conceivably fall into the trap and basically be the pawns that help kick off the event in a way. But that's exactly why I think, you know, it needs to be done right. If we do it right and Israel does make a move and they do something really nuts, then what it will do is compromise some very important assets to the New World Order power structure. Israel will clearly, that'll be it for them. If we do our job correctly, and they attack us and kill a bunch of people or sink ships, that's it. I mean, it may as well be the Third World War is launched if they take it to the next level, because the entire world will be completely united against them. And anyone who stands with Israel at that point, which means the United States government will be the seen enemy by the world. So, I mean, the consequences are massive, absolutely massive, and I do not believe that this is part of the New World Order agenda. I believe this is the proverbial throwing the monkey wrench in the gears, and I think we do need to use the monkey wrench, and we need to take some chances, but let's do it intelligently. So if we do our job right, an attack on us in effect will be an attack on humanity, on any kind of humanity that still exists in this world, and you know, it will serve the purpose of humanity if that's what it requires. But we do live with that threat of a Third World War. It's one we should take very seriously, and it could happen still. You know, we're flirting with it. Actually, you know, I think I pretty much finished the point that I was trying to make. I mean, the stakes couldn't be higher. I mean, again, going back to the previous question, I mean, the stakes are very, very high. We've already come very close to annihilating ourselves on more than one occasion. It's not just the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's been several occasions. The attack of the USS Liberty by the by the Israelis, could have conceivably backfired as well. I mean, that was intended to bring America into the Middle East and blame Egypt, but